wondering if you guys, with your quarterbacks, with Matthew in particular, if there's any special plan in place to try to ensure that he stays off the COVID list.
Yeah, well, number one, we've really limited any of these kind of in-person meetings with the exception of going outdoors and staying socially distant. So it's kind of what we've done. We've had a lot of virtual. So we are taking really preventative maintenance, not exclusively for the quarterbacks, but really for, all of our positions as much as possible, with the exception of really the only last 2 weeks that we've needed it. Usually the weather is a little bit more tolerable to be able to have those outdoor meetings and things like that. But we have done that with our team over the last couple of weeks. And, we were one of the first teams to really get hit hard by it. So we had to learn the hard way. And then they all changed the protocols to help everyone else out.
And then any update on Cam Akers and whether or not you get the feeling he's going to play on Sunday?
Yeah, I would say it's more likely that he won't. We're going to continue to be smart with him. Haven't made that final determination, but I think next week looks like a more realistic kind of goal like we've always had all along.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Stu.
Hey, Sean, is there a chance that you guys get Sebastian Joseph Day back off of IR before the playoffs?
I wouldn't rule it out. That is something that I know he's done a great job. I have not really specifically talked about the exact timetable. There's been a lot of moving parts, more so than ever before. Certainly wouldn't be ready to rule that out of the equation, but I'll probably be able to have a better answer for you after this week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Modesti.
Hi, Sean. When we were talking with Odell Beckham, he was raving about Cooper Kupp, talking about how he thinks he's enjoying Kupp's pursuit of records more than Kupp is. He's helping count down the numbers. Odell talked about his own reputation as he said, a me guy, and obviously wanting to live that down. What have you seen of him in that regard? And has he changed anybody's minds? Did minds need to be changed on that count?
Yeah, I would say this. I always make my opinions on people based on my own individual interactions with them. You see things from afar, different things like that. This guy's been nothing but a joy to be around. From the very first time, I've had a little bit of interaction with him over the last couple of years when I've run into him, whether it's through NFL events or even seeing him when he spends some of his offseason time in LA. And this guy is a great guy. He's got a great charisma, great presence. He's an incredibly talented football player. And then I can attest to this now. He's a great teammate. He really cares about these guys. He's been incredibly selfless. He's made plays when he's had the opportunity. He's come in and he's really been intentional about learning as much as possible in a short amount of time with Eric Yarber and with Chris O'Hara. I think he's taken to his teammates, and he's one of those guys when you're around him, you can't help but like him. I mean, he's got a great presence, a great charisma, like I mentioned, and he's been a great teammate, and I've really enjoyed working with Odell for the last month and a half or however long it's been.
Mm-hmm. And then on the possibility of clinching the division, is it amazing to think that 3 weeks ago you were 2 games out of first place up against the tiebreakers, and now here you are?
I would say this, it goes back to why you just stay in the moment and you just take care of what you can control. Things have worked out in our favor, but the reason that things have worked out in our favor is because our guys have handled the business that they're responsible for. And that's playing well in the month of December, doing a great job, getting the results that we're always, striving to accomplish as far as our week of preparation goes. And so this league has been definitely a crazy one, but we're not there yet. We haven't done it yet. There's a lot of things that still have to take place. And we've got a great challenge against an excellent football team this week where our focus and concentration lies.
And then just quickly, if you clinch, it could happen when you're in the air flying home from Baltimore. Have you had that scenario?
I would imagine, unless they accelerate how quick we load things up, we won't be taking off yet. That thing takes a minute for us to get going. So we'll probably be still sitting there having a cold one if we're able to get the result that we want. And, if for whatever reason that game is far on and there's things close, I think we'll delay taking off. unless maybe they figured out how to get the damn Wi-Fi on the plane so we can watch the game.
Would you really delay taking off for that?
Hell yeah, absolutely.
And what would the celebration be? Would there be libations?
Let's put it this way: we got to be able to. We got a long way to go before that, but that would be a good thing. But the only way that's even a real conversation is if we handle our business against a great football team in Baltimore.
Got it. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Gary.
Hey, Sean. If my math is correct, and it could be wrong, Cooper would need 17 catches to tie Michael Thomas's record for catches in a season in a 16-game season. I'm just curious, as the play caller, will you call the game with that in mind in terms of helping players get records?
No, I'll call the game in a manner that's reflective of trying to win the football game and do what's best for our offense. It just so happens that a lot of those things are in alignment with Cooper Kupp getting the ball. So you always want to try to be helpful in facilitating those things. And it's probably one of the most sensitive subjects, in terms of how you navigate and negotiate through that. We've talked about this even going back to my first year where we decided to rest Todd when he had a chance for the rushing title. And so I don't have the perfect answer for that. I know that Cooper is the most selfless teammate, one of the most selfless players I've ever been around. Would love for him to be able to do that, but I can promise you what Cooper Kupp cares about is playing a good game to try to win against the Baltimore Ravens. And if that so happens that he gets the touches that end up breaking records, and that's really cool and awesome for him. And so the goal is, number one, let's try to go win this game as a team, do a great job offensively with what he can do and how he can contribute. But I don't think it's it will not alter and affect the way that you call it, even though those are really cool things that I don't want to minimize what a big deal that is for Cooper to be able to accomplish that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a very layered thing.
All right, we'll wrap up with Jordan and Rashawn.
Hey, Sean, are you able to give us sort of a rundown of guys you're expecting to practice today, not practice, or be, anyone's game status in question?
Yeah, so the only guys that we'll list as questionable right now would be Taylor Rapp and Greg Gaines, but both those guys will be, Greg in a limited capacity, but don't expect anything to prevent him from being ready to go, just getting comfortable with that hand. Taylor will be full today. And then we're going to hold Aaron out of practice just to give him a rest day, but Aaron's going to be ready to go.
Is Greg going to have a club?
I don't know that it's a club. It's actually, the thing that he's been wearing the last couple of days hasn't restricted, it's just, he's got a little bit of swelling in his knuckles. And so shouldn't be too restrictive. Those, he'll find a way to make it work.
And then I wanted to see if you could maybe dissect your special teams a little bit. I know over the last couple of years, it's been a bit of an adventure, kind of getting to the point of consistency. And then now, not just consistency, but positive plays and things that make a positive difference in the game. As you kind of reflect on that journey, what have you kind of learned about that process, and how would you sort of assess this entire curve to this point?
Yeah, number one, I think it's been a really cool example of just consistent approach day in and day out. And now you can start to feel some of the philosophical approaches that Joe D and Coach Stooks want to take, what we want the film to look like, the way that we're pursuing, the way that we play with upper body violence, population to the football, all those things. Now it's starting to show up on the film. So I think the guys are really taken to an understanding of what we're trying to get done, specifically in our coverage phases. I think Brandon Powell has been a tremendous shot of life in our return game. I think as a result of that belief, those expectations and what he's capable of doing, the other 10 guys are playing better. They're blocking better. It just looks like a better overall operation, and that takes all 11 on the field. It's a great job by Coach D. Camillus and Coach Stooks. And then I've been so pleased with our field goal operation. Matt Gay, deservingly so, being a Pro Bowl representative for the NFC. The consistency that he's kicked with, but I also think you can't minimize the entirety of the operation with Orzek, Johnny as a consistent, amazing holder, and then the protection. You talk about a selfless down. Go watch the way that these guys in Field Goal Pro have to just sit there for some of these field goal rush ops that these other teams get. And it's a real appreciation for the team element, but I've been very pleased with the progression. And I thought last week was one of our best performances. And now let's see if we can build on that against a really tough outfit in the Ravens.
And just a technical question, you hear linemen talk if they appreciate the running back or they feel like the electricity from the running back, they really want to move the line of scrimmage. Guys have said that about Sony the last couple of weeks. Is it the same for a return man?
I think so. Yeah, I think there's an element of, whether you realize it or not, there's always this kind of opinion that you develop when you're doing anything that you do. And I think if there's a real belief and an expectation that we can have success on this upcoming down because of the confidence you have in the person that's going to have the ball in their hands, something comes with that. And I think it's very much equivalent to what you're saying as far as the linemen and the way that they feel. I think there's no doubt about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sean, we'll wrap up with you.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning.
What happened in November that has allowed you to get to this point now where you're on the verge of clinching?
Well, I think sometimes that adversity can make you stronger if it's handled the right way and you have the right leaders in place. And that's certainly what we have with our players and our coaching staff. In its simplest form, I think, the root of it was we started playing better as a team. We started playing better complementary football. Obviously, we were taking better care of the football offensively. Defense was getting takeaways. Special teams just progressively got better and better. And then last week, I thought was a great representation of guys picking each other up, even in spite of some of the adversity. We had those turnovers. We were able to overcome it. But I think guys have just gotten better. They've maintained a resilience and a mental toughness that helped us push through a tough month of November and obviously get the results that we were desiring in the month of December. Hasn't been perfect by any stretch, even if the record was. And there's a lot of things that we've got to be able to improve upon. And this week represents another chance to do that.
With Cooper, he's on the verge of a lot of stuff, right? He's got, I think, Isaac Bruce receiving yards record in front of him this week. Gary talked about the touchdowns. Also finishing with the Triple Crown probably, is a possibility for him as well. What have you seen from him just in terms of his approach and how he's handled this, even after breaking, one of Bruce's records a couple weeks ago?
The best thing I could say, Rashawn, is that I've seen the exact same guy I saw from the moment he stepped in here in rookie mini camp 4.5 years ago. He's so intentional about his everyday approach, his rhythm and routine. He loves football. He loves his teammates. He really wants to be coached hard. Nobody's harder on himself than he is of himself. And it's just been a great thing to be able to see the accumulation and that hard work paying off, where he's doing a great job, and he's been an instrumental part of a lot of the good things that have gone on for the Rams this year.
I know you mentioned you won't call the game for him to kind of break those records, but as the play caller, I mean, you're seeing this happen. Is there a sense of pride you can take in this as well?
I think appreciation is more than anything. The way that I would look at it is appreciative to be able to work with players like Cooper Kupp, like the Matthew Staffords of the world, like Aaron Ramsey. There's so many special players, and these guys make it come to life. Really, I've heard Coach Belichick say it before. Coaches lose games, players win them, and you just want to make sure you try to put these guys in the good spot as you possibly can.
Appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, man.